I thought today we would go for a drive around the south coast of Wellington, as it is very pretty and a really nice driving road that is within 20 minutes drive from pretty much anywhere in the city. And thought I'd go over car history because I'm always kind of interested in vehicles that people have owned, sort of why they owned them and why they got rid of them. So yeah, I started out driving about 10 years ago. 10 years ago. I got my first car. I was 17 and I saved up enough money to go out and buy a 1993, I think it was 93, 1993 Toyota Corolla 1.3 XL 5-speed manual in white, as you can see in the picture here, if I can find one, hopefully I can. And you know, as a first car, man, it was awesome. It was slow, it was not that great looking, let's be honest. It was a Toyota though. I pretty much didn't look after it for the 2.5 years that I had it. I kind of put oil in, oil dripped out the bottom, and just kind of kept going. The clutch by the end of it was pretty knackered. Being 17, I chucked big wheels on it, I chucked a big muffler on it, 5 can, yeah. It's pretty embarrassing looking back now at what I did, but at the time it was awesome, you know, full on Sony sound system. Whoa. To be honest, it sounded pretty crap, but at the time, you know, you're young, it's awesome, it doesn't really matter. Put a sports steering wheel on it, and it got broken into so many times. So yeah, I had that for about 2.5 years. It was absolutely brilliant. It sort of got me into driving and, you know, helped me get through my restricted and practice, you know, being a driver versus being a noob who could hardly change gears smoothly. So then I bought possibly the worst car I've ever owned in terms of money, potentially. It was a 97 twin turbo Subaru Legacy, and it had done about 170,000 Ks. I had it for about 2 weeks before the starter motor went. A couple of weeks later, the brake caliper seized up. A few weeks after that, I failed a warrant on pretty much every single possible thing in the car that was like could go wrong, had gone wrong. It was dripping oil on the exhaust. Basically, the pre-purchase report I got was a load of crap, and a bit of an hindsight, I shouldn't have bought the car, but I also learned not to trust taking it to just kind of someone who's not a mechanic to do a pre-purchase inspection, because they basically told me that, yeah, there was a couple of dents here and there, and that the wheels were slightly curved and shit that I don't really care about. They didn't, however, tell me that it was leaking oil and that there was a whole bunch of stuff missing, and I didn't know what I was looking for at the time to buy a car that was actually tidy. You know, while it was fast and fun, it was just a rubbish car to own. For some reason I went back to a Corolla, but this time I went way back to, I got a 1977, so it was like 32 years old or something at the time, year old Corolla, and it was bright yellow. It had chrome wheels on it, and it was pretty much about 5 different colours when I got it, rough as guts inside, and it didn't really work all that well. So, you know, great choice as an only car. Yeah. It's been a few months tidying it up and getting it running well, and it actually turned out really nice. We painted it, and it was a really cool car, and I still have regret selling it on the basis that they are classics now, and the value of them has gone up a lot in the last couple of years. Downside of it was that it was an only car, and as much as I loved it, it was awful to drive. It was loud, bumpy, not very good on fuel for a 1.3 litre, and couldn't go anywhere in it without people kind of coming up to you and asking you questions or trying to buy it off you, which, you know, when you just want to go down to the supermarket and get some milk, it was kind of painful. Thankfully I had a mate who had a spare turbocharged starter, so I kind of borrowed that off him for a couple of months, and that really helped kind of justify keeping the old Corolla for a lot longer. Because the starlet was nicer to drive, I could use it every day, save the Corolla for the weekends, and when I wanted to go out and have fun and cruise around. Once I had to give the starlet back, the pitfalls of owning a 33-year-old car as a daily came back into play again, and so I decided that as much as I loved it, it was time to get rid of it and move on to something a little bit more modern and something I could actually use. I was kind of stuck in Wellington with it. It was too hard to drive long distance. So I bought another twin turbo Legacy. You think you'd learn, eh? But it's basically just a turbocharged rocket ship that handled very well. So I had that for a couple of years and it was brilliant, but Subarus, once they get, especially the turbocharged ones, once they get to around about 170, 180,000 Ks, as I learned the first time, and as a couple of people I know have owned them and had similar problems, they start getting a bit finicky and a bit tired, and the turbochargers and things just start getting a little bit knackered. Now I'm sure that the newer ones are much better, but I didn't feel like taking the risk again after pouring so much money into my first Legacy. So I started looking around for a new car, and it made both the best and worst car purchasing decision of my life. But I decided on an HSV Club Sport, which, for those of you outside of New Zealand and Australia, or even in New Zealand and you're not quite sure what it is, it's basically a big Holden, which is a Vauxhall or a GM in other countries, sedan with a 6-litre Corvette V8 in it. So kind of absolutely stupid as you would imagine, especially driving around the city. I commuted in it every day, which was expensive as hell on fuel. The reason I got rid of that car, and it was one of my dream cars, was because I bought a motorbike, and it was the middle of summer, and so I commuted on the bike every day, and the car just kind of sat in the garage. I didn't actually drive it very often, so I felt kind of like it was being wasted. So eventually I decided to sell it, and that was probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever made about a car. When I traded that in, I basically had to take something off the yard that day, and that was a really tricky thing to do, because everything on the yard that day was either really expensive and I was trying to chop down my budget quite a lot, or it was just really boring. And so I ended up with a 3-litre Subaru Legacy sedan in grey. Boo, like everything about it was just Blandsville. I hated it. But I had to take something off the yard, and so it seemed like an easy car to get rid of. Turns out that I was correct. It took, I think, about 3 days to sell, and I got exactly what I paid for it back. And then I bought a Hilux Surf, possibly the second worst car for reliability that I have ever owned in my life, apart from that Legacy. And I know that Hiluxes have the reputation around the world of being bulletproof. I don't really know why. Mine was a constant source of issues. I ended up rebuilding half the truck, and yeah, it costed a lot of money. But, and this is the big but, holy crap, what a machine. Like, it took us all the way down to Queenstown over New Year's. We took it off-roading, we drove it through rivers, we slept in the back of it. So when we went down south, it was our house for 2 weeks, and we slept in the back of it every night. It was awesomely comfortable to sleep in, at least. To drive it was not. And it was just a really fun machine, but it kind of was getting to the point where it needed more cash put into it, and I didn't want to do it. It smells like Chinese food in here, and I don't know why. I wasn't really sure what I was going to buy. As I explained in other videos, I ended up with a BMW. So far it has been good fun, and I really enjoy it. Maybe grass. It's not going away. So ending today's drive up in the old Wellington prison here, which has been abandoned for a little while now. And it's almost eerie being up here, kind of when nobody else is, and it's very quiet. Everything still seems to be here, like there's still fences and buildings, but everything's kind of boarded up, as you can really see. And the view is still epic. I mean, you know, nobody wants to go to jail, but so I hope that hasn't been too rambly. I hope that you guys leave something in the comments, like what cars have you owned and which one was your favorite and which one was your least favorite. I'm always curious as to what people drive and why, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some of you guys' comments below. I've got heaps more videos planned over the next couple of months, so please subscribe and follow along and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Cheers.
Got it.